guys, it's BGFX. Welcome back to the channel. Salute to all you guys who are watching. In today's video, I'm going to be walking y'all through some trades that we actually took over the last couple of weeks here in the markets. So before I get into anything, I just want to say thank y'all so much for the support. I know I say that every video, but it's like previous video I posted, I had 2,200, I believe around 2,300 subscribers, and now shit, we're at like 9,000 subscribers since that last video. And previous videos coming up on 100,000 views as well. So like I said, man, thank y'all so much. I just feel so thankful that I could be a person that y'all come to get value from, to get value from and to learn from and to improve from, from my videos, man. So let's waste no more time. Let's go ahead and get into it. So let's start this off with GJ, right? So GBPJPY, we went long on this pair. We ended up catching around, I believe it was about 90 plus pips, which equaled out to about 4 times our risk. So to go ahead and start this analysis off, we are on a 5-minute time frame. I don't think I have to go to the higher time frame for this, but let's go ahead and come over here to this very strong impulsive move to the upside, right? So you can see that on GJ. Actually, I'll come up to the higher time frame for a second. Let's come up to the hourly. You can see that on GJ, we started off, we kind of topped out around this 142.67 level. From there, we ended up pushing down. Let's see how far that was. Almost 1,000. Yeah, almost nearly 1,000 pip. Move to the downside, and then we made a very simple ABC move, right? So for anyone who isn't familiar with an ABC move, basically what that is going to be just 1, 2, 3, very simple move to the upside. And after this impulsive move, I was looking for the pullback, right? And what I did here was I looked for my value area inside of these 2 strong bullish candles. So instead of me looking over here and going, okay, we have a high right here, we also have a high right here, and kind of pinpointing where I want to long from, or like right here, I'm simply looking at where price stopped in the midst of this push to the upside, right? Where did price kind of get held back from, moving with momentum. So what I did here, if we go back down to the 5-minute time frame, coming to this impulsive move, you can see that we had 2 areas, right? We had this one down candle. I'm gonna go ahead and mark this off real quick for you guys. And then we also had this little area of consolidation. So simply what I was doing is, even though if we look at something like the hourly time frame, we can see that price has been trending down for about, say, around 200, almost 300 pips. What I was doing is I was stalking the lower time frame for potential longs, watching potential buys in both of these areas, right? So from both of these areas, I want to see price potentially act as a demand zone, right? Why would I call this a demand? It is a very, very fresh level, right? Like I said, it isn't like these levels have been retested 4 or 5 times and now we have liquidity trading all around them, like we have orders everywhere. It's coming to the point where, right, these 2 potential areas could be acting as fresh demand for London session, right? See what I mean? So next, we're just looking for price to come back down to it, and what I see is that we do have a W formation, but we do have somewhat of equal lows being made in the market. Now, since we had equal lows, and also taking into consideration the timing of the trade, the fact that it's still late Asia session, I felt like potentially we could take these lows out, so it would be good to kind of give this trade a little bit of breathing room. So like I said, this is a very, very simple trade. We didn't really have to, create a full story for this. We had a simple 2-3 step confirmation through the Fibonacci, entered right here to 618 in confluence with this little area that may be acting as the last point of demand for price before pushing back to the upside. So we can pretty much take fibs off. And once again, right, looking at the sessions, okay, purple is going to be London. This little light area right here is kind of New York session, and then this is Asia session right here. So typically I don't really like to enter trades for Asia session too much, but if the trade is giving me my rules, I'll do it. Sometimes I'll adapt to it. Just like in this case, I went ahead and went with wider stops than usual. So entered at 137.610 right there. Let's come back to here really quick. Buying GBPJPY right now, entry at 137.610, stop loss, take profit, etc. 20 pip risk for a 92 potential pip reward. So if we go ahead and we come up here, 92 pips, you can see that this is around a 1 to 4.5 risk to reward trade, which was fairly good. You know, sometimes I like to go for more. Sometimes market conditions just kind of makes it that way. So this is perfect. We're gonna go ahead and see how price reacts in real time, and you can see literally right off the dump, man, we had some huge bullish candles putting us about, let's see, 45 pips in profit literally within, you can say, about an hour or so, I believe. And then continue to press play. Final targets were, you know, this entire area as a whole here. Potentially I was expecting price to kind of come up, show a little bit of reaction, maybe trade back into new lows, because once again, looking at that strong impulsive move, we also have a level right here. So it's a possibility that we come down, maybe kind of mess around here, and then we trade back up into highs. So that's kind of another possibility. But you can see so far, very clean trade. And then I believe we have that one final spike, literally so close to take profit. I think we missed take profit by like 2 or 3 pips, but at that point, you know, always secure some profits, take some profits from the market, and just let your trade run risk free. Maybe move stop loss in the blue. So it's kind of what we have going on right here. And then I believe price does kind of reverse back to the downside, man. So yeah, that's the first trade. And then we can see right here, you know, price really moving into profits, going in more. And this was my 2 entries, right? So buying GBPJPY at 137.610, which was the trade that I sent out to the group. And then I sent, I didn't send one, I took a second entry, I believe maybe like a pip or a pip and a half higher after this candle close right here. I figured I'd enter a little bit more because I didn't really put a full 2% of my account in. So I said, you know what, let me stack one more position up with the same stop loss, same targets, things of that nature. So as you can see, I'm making this trade risk free. Don't want to see equal lows pre-London. Back to what I was saying, you know, Asia likes to move back and forth a little bit. Didn't really want to see price come back down to that level. And then of course, as London opened up, we pushed very nice into profits. Target 1 hit. Feel free to make it, let it run risk free. London session starts soon. Make sure your stops at break even, as volume will come into the market and either extend us more into profits or just retrace, you know. So GBPJPY running 70 plus pips. And then I also had a sell limit on Euro CHF. You know, I decided to delete this order. Wasn't really too worried about it, but if you did decide to stay in it, that trade went into profit straight away as well. This was pretty much what the limit was on Euro CHF, and it just dropped off right off the bat. But I'll show y'all real quick my markup. This is a real simple Wyckoff schematic, right? A few different scenarios, we went profits right off the dump, but like I said, I ended up canceling my order. But GJ ran 90 plus pips of profit at its peak, pretty much hit our final target zone, but not the exact take profit, which was 4 times our risk, right? And then the next week follows up. This November 16th was a GBPJPY forecast that I ended up posting. Before I go to the charts, I want you guys to look real close. Okay, look real close to this chart. Kind of pay attention to every zone that I drew. You know, pay attention to the way I've drawn market structure, and then I'm gonna go ahead and go to GJ. So this is no hindsight trading. This isn't me looking at previous forms of support, resistance, and trend lines. This is me drawing fresh levels of potential supply and demand before they happen, right? Every chart, every, you know, pair is going to show you forms of support, resistance. My goal here was to identify fresh zones before they actually created themselves, right? Before the charts actually created them, because in my opinion, once the charts kind of starts to create them, that's when the liquidity builds up. So that's why I kind of take very aggressive setups with very large rewards, just because I'm trying to pinpoint, you know, fresh zones that price likes to react to. So yeah, like I said, y'all kind of take a mental note of this real quick. And then coming to GJ right here, you guys can see that we dropped off. We hit this level here. We came back up and we met this level of demand, right? This potential area of demand. And we ended up pushing around 150 or so pips off of it. And something that I realized happened is that we created these equal highs. We reacted to the previous area of demand, and then we took out these equal highs. Some would say this was just to grab liquidity. Others would say it is because of GBP positive news, right? COVID vaccine ended up causing the GBP to get strong as well. But something I realized is that news is very often in alignment with liquidity, right? What I mean by that is, let's say GBPJPY is on a downtrend, right? It's on a downward slope, and it's breaking retest, and it's a trend line going, and then there's high impact news, you know what I mean, and everyone's selling. Do you think the high impact news is just gonna shoot to the downside and then just supply everyone with, tons of profits? Most likely not. You know what I mean? Most likely not. However, it does happen. Everything's circumstantial, but I feel like in this case, it did have a lot to do with liquidity, but also a lot to do with the fact that we have fundamentals, right? COVID's new. As a trader, we never really had to worry about that until recently. But that's kind of what we had going on. Just wants to point that out, right? Posted that GBPJPY forecast for everyone in my group to see. November 16th, 2020, and it literally played out to the T before fundamentals kind of came through with some extra movement. So let's scroll down a little bit more, post some new videos to the course. Right here we have NZD/JPY, which was some potential sells. Ended up posting a little sell limit here, 4 pip stop loss, 34 pip potential reward, 1 to 7. And then we kind of show reaction right off the bat, then we show more, and then I went ahead and made this trade risk free. Went to profits straight away. London opened up, we went more into profits. Then I believe we got hit out at break even. Secured a little bit of profits right there on that one. And then AUD CAD was another short where I placed a sell limit. This actually melted. I'm pretty sure it hit every take profit, but we ended up missing entry. Man, and I think it was about like a pip or two. And then it's just absolutely melted. Little Wyckoff schematic right here. Wyckoff distribution. 12 pip risk, 60 pip reward. So the risk to reward is really everything. I never really focus on win percentage. Always focusing on the gains from each individual trade. GBPJPY forecast was another little forecast that played out perfect. This was actually a small loss on GJ. I think I took 8 pip loss, and then Euro AUD was a 6 pip loss. So 2 losses in a row. But I'm kind of glad this happened because it kind of teaches you something. You took 2 small losses on these 2 pairs, but the week before we had GJ run 4 times our risk. So still in profits. Basically, and then right here was a sell limit on GBPJPY. I'm selling GJ, entry, stop loss, take profit. 1 to 5 risk to reward. If price decides to come down to 138.65, I will move stops to break even. Blah blah blah. Currently a couple pips in profit, right? So as you guys can see, this was the limits. Came up, got triggered into the order, and then boom, we broke into new lows. Which was overall a very clean trade setup. So let's get back on the charts right here, and I'm gonna kind of walk y'all through what things were looking like. So this was the trade. For the most part, I believe, let's go ahead and go back to our entry real quick. Entry was at 138.797, so 138.797. Okay, yeah, I'm starting to remember, because sometimes you forget these trades, especially if they happen in such a small span of time. Okay, so yeah, if we go ahead and we bring this back, you see we kind of had a slowdown of candles. Now this was on a 1 minute, this was very short term. We kind of had a little slowdown, a little indecision candle. So what I was hoping to see happen is, a little bit of a push up, and then price just kind of get exhausted right around that area. And once again, looking at supply and demand, the market likes to do multiple things around a previous high. Okay, I know I say this a lot, but once you kind of get it down, it changes everything. So once price comes up, makes a high, it'll either fail to make the high, it'll come up and it'll either come up and make equal highs. Okay, it'll come up, it'll grab the liquidity of the high, or it'll just come up and just continue to trade in one direction, right? And this is what we would potentially call supply and demand. So I was looking to short right here, and then you guys can see trade triggered right then and there. And then targets, first targets of course are going to be below these equal lows right here, right? A few pips below those equal lows. And then my stop loss was actually pretty wide on this trade setup, but I can show you guys in a little second. So yeah, trade was made risk free, and then I believe my stop loss was around 20 something pips. I believe it was around 27 pips if I'm right. You can go ahead and see. Yeah, 27 pip risk, and then bring this down to here. But we ended up hitting take profit 1, so I did secure a little bit of profits here. Took some profits off the table. Not a crazy amount, like I said, but just enough to kind of, give my account a good bit of a gain here. And then TP1 was at 27. So this ran up to a 1-to-1. I was okay with this happening. This was just kind of me trying to take a chance of price dropping off, and then we kind of went a little bit more into there. So that ended up running about 30 plus pips for us. And then another point of interest for GJ is, you know, the 139.30 through 139.78 level. And then, yeah, as you guys see, when the profits went a little bit more in the profits. Post a little GBPJPY forecast. This went very nice as well. 4 hour time frame. We come back over here, come up to the 4 hour, reset the chart. You can see that from this little level, like I was saying, we ended up selling off around 150 plus pips off of that area, which is perfect. Right there we go. And then GBPJPY forecast that was posted a week ago went with the flow perfectly. Let's see if we can catch some more shorts soon. And then this was more shorts as well. So I was kind of focused on GJ for the most part throughout this little throughout the last couple of weeks, right? Selling GBPJPY. Let's see, right about here. Let's go ahead and bring this back. And we can see that that entry was at 139.405. 139.405. So this is a pure sniper entry. 10 pip stop loss, just like that. And then take profit somewhere around there, right? So from that area, simply marked off this little up candle. Took a short right at the open, at the close of that up candle. And you can also call this somewhat, if you want to call it a Wyckoff schematic, you could. You have your up thrust right here, buyer's climax, and you have your UTAD, which is up thrust after distribution. And then if you want some more confluence, of course, you could always pull a little fib out from the high to the low. And then look where we're at, a little bit above the 618, which is pretty good for confluence. And then in terms of long-term targets, the one thing that caught my attention is that we didn't really have any form of equal lows. So I was just kind of looking at target for the long term and kind of trying to pick the top, you know, of GJ. So we take this entry here, and then right off the dump, more profits, and we're pretty much risk-free, you know, at this point. And I think we do come back up into there. So stop loss was where at break even, and this was a break even trade. So yeah, and then next we have USDCHF. You can see right here, sell GJ, very super clean entry, right, tip of the wick, but sometimes it isn't going to play out to the fullest. Next going to be USDCHF buy limit, entry at 91035. If we come over here, 91035, perfect entry right at the tip of the wick as well. Kind of consolidated for a little bit, hit both sides of liquidity, and then we took off to the upside. And my targets were going to be a little bit above this previous high of market structure, and then we kind of spiked a little bit above the highs. So we did take out those highs, but didn't really come up to where I wanted it to. So overall, I set limit orders. Limits did not get triggered. Super close to limits getting triggered. You know, broker spreads. If my spread was like 15, you know, 1.5 pips, it would have to push 1.5 pips below this limit for me to actually get triggered into this trade setup, man. So much of a sniper entry, but didn't get triggered. That's the main downside of using limit orders, which is really why I'm always using market execution most of the time, at least. You guys can see this beautiful entry running multiple times our risk. Selling GJ, right, this was a super close trade. This trade stopped us out by like 1 pip and then melted, literally melted. And this was a little Wyckoff distribution. I know a lot of you guys like Wyckoff, right? So you have your preliminary supply, buyer's climax, automatic rally, secondary test, up thrust, that final up thrust after distribution. I believe this was somewhere around London Open. Broke new lows, came up for the test around the 786, and absolutely took off, took out those equal lows for liquidity, you know, which is perfect. Then there's a couple little ideas, little forecast on GJ. Might have to blur this out. There's some sauce right here on GJ. And then right here is going to be the final trade, which was a trade that we actually took last night here on GBPJPY. And this trade was amazing, right? This trade ended up running about 14 times our risk. So like I said, you know, every now and then you're going to get that home run trade. And that's why it's just crucial to stick to the plan. So this little Wyckoff schematic, right, looking for a retest right here. And I'm selling GJ a couple of pips away from entry. Entry is going to be at 139.743. Stop loss, take profit, etc. All there. 1 to 27 risk to reward. 5 pip stop loss. 150% reward. The goal for this trade is to go risk free and let it run ASAP. This will either melt or fly through this wick and make new highs. This is an aggressive trade setup. Okay, this is an aggressive trade setup. So go back right here on GJ. You guys can see this is kind of what we had going on, right? So to come back up to the hourly, this is back to what I was saying in that GBPJPY forecast, right? Price was going to reject off of here. So once we're kind of making these equal highs of the market, you know, I knew that we had equal highs. I knew that we had obviously liquidity above here, right? Obviously we had liquidity above here. We also potentially we're going to have an area of supply giving us some type of reaction. So the goal here was to catch some type of reaction of the markets without necessarily it taking out these highs. And the way I did that was I went to the 1 hour time frame. If I got confirmation, not the 1 hour, the 1 minute, and if I got confirmation on the 1 minute, I would sell and potentially look to target a lower price. So very simple. You know, 1 minute time frame is actually super powerful. Very simple Wyckoff schematic. Show you guys right here. Right here, the thing we have our preliminary supply down there, buyer's climax, up thrust, little automatic rally, secondary test. Around here we have our forms of supply and demand, and then right at London Open we have our UTAD, right, which is up thrust after distribution. We come to our session, you can see right as we turn purple, we kind of consolidate for a little bit, and then we run the market up around 20 pips, and then from there, right, super simple. Right here, I'll go ahead and write it out just for the sake of this video. So I would call this preliminary supply. I would then call this our buying climax, right, kind of wicking off right there. I'd call this our up thrust, and then I would call this our up thrust after distribution. And then from there, like I said, I went ahead and decided to enter on the 786 fib. But when you're looking at the markets in real time, just a little tip, like if you're on a 1 minute, you'll realize that if a candle is real slow, right? If a candle is real slow and it's coming down, then it starts giving a lot of reaction, like a super quick amount of reaction back and forth. What you call that is high volume price movement. Once price comes back down, go ahead and map the zone out. Once you realize it moves back and forth a lot. Once price comes up to it, it could potentially act as a form of supply and demand. You know, so the candle's not going to show you that, okay? Because keep in mind, time is just a factor. You know, like when you look at the markets, the 5 minute time frames going to give you supply and demand, 15, 30 minute, 1 hour. But price itself will do stuff that the candles won't show, which is where volume comes in. That's when you use volume tools, things of that nature. But I don't really use them as much just because I've learned to kind of just watch how quick price moves. And right here, I realized price was kind of doing something like that and it broke through. So at that point, I knew that once price came to retest, you know, I could use the fib as confluence and I can go short right there. Okay, and then entry 139.743. 743 right here. Stop loss was 5 pips right here. Just make sure. Got my dog barking right now. And then risk to reward was 1 to 27. So this is a very aggressive trade setup, man. But it pays off, you know. You don't need to win every trade. That's one of the main things. You don't need to win every trade at all. So that is our setup right there. So yeah, that's our setup on a 1 minute full Wyckoff schematic. Timing is everything, right? Timing is just as important as the structure it occurs with. Because if you see a Wyckoff schematic occur like in the middle of Asia session, you kind of want to be mindful, because like I said, Asia is usually the trap session. Asia kind of gives you a little bit back and forth movement. Usually London will come through, and what I like to do is I like to wait for some type of manipulation to occur. And if we look at this right here, we have a little area of consolidation. What do? We come up, we hit this side of liquidity, hit this side of liquidity as well, meet this preliminary supply, come back up, and then from there I was looking for the short. And if you go ahead and you press play, boom, perfect, got triggered in. And the beauty of only using a 5 pip stop loss is that just from price being, you know, almost 10 pips in profit, you'll already pretty much be running double your risk And I'll throw some screenshots up on the screen right now as well for you guys of my FX book, and also some screenshots I took of my entries as well. And then you guys see we're just melting off of that level. And I'm pretty sure we take out these lows right here as well. Could be wrong. But from here, we pretty much ran a 1 to 11. Then right there is a 1 to 15. And I think this may be the low. We ended up running around 15 times our risk before price ended up coming back to the upside. So very, very strong move. We come back up to the hourly, right? Just confirm that we did have an area of supply showing this rejection. So once we do come to here, the main goal, right, is just to make the trade risk free. You know, make the trade risk free, secure some profits, and if it does take liquidity, at that point you already have your risk out of the markets, right? And then we scroll down. It's early, but I'm going risk free around the 1 to 1. Yeah, so here's my entry, going a little bit more into profits, and then we just melt it, you know, 100%. Trade running 11 times our risk. Feel free to secure partials. And then I also had a little order on AUD CAD that we canceled. But overall, an amazing trade. I ended up clocking out with about 32%, a little bit more than 32%, on only one trade. You know, so that's the beauty of staying patient, understanding liquidity, understanding supply and demand, understanding how orders like to flow through the markets. And you don't need to catch every move. You know, you see the trade very calculated, trade very strategically. You know, not many emotions on the line. Just kind of wait for what you want to see to happen. Understand your edge. You know, if you're willing to take a loss, you know, with this strategy, it's going to be small compared to your overall gains. So started the month off beautifully. This was London session of December 1st. What is it right now? It's December 2nd right now. But yeah, London session. So first trade of the month gave us 37%. And then the next trade will be a 2% loss. You know, the next trade will be... Well, I don't know if it's going to be a 2% loss, but just like metaphorically speaking, if we do lose only 2%, we win another one, it's 10%, 15%. So it's back and forth, just kind of assessing your risks for your potential reward, man. But like I said, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Thank y'all so much for watching. Let's see if we can hit 10K subs soon. Let's see if we can hit 500 likes on this video. If you are still watching, go ahead and drop a comment down below. Let me know if you have any questions. Drop some feedback, anything you want to see in the future. It's been your boy BG Forex, man. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm out. Salute.